Happy Thursday. It is Therapy Thursday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Triffy. Every Thursday, when I can, which is usually every Thursday, right? I show up here to teach skills to help us think better so we can feel better and ultimately do better. I am a licensed psychologist in Atlanta, Georgia. But I talk like this because I have maintained my accent from Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. Dominica is further south. We speak English, a French Creole, and we also speak Kalinago language. Who are the Kalinago? The Kalinago are our native people. They are indigenous to Dominica. They used to be called the Caribs, but they reclaimed their name. They are Kalinago people. So that's where I'm from. Although I'm also American and I live and practice in Atlanta, Georgia. So, y'all, tonight I have a very powerful topic, and I know some of you are in pain as you try to live your lives and deal with people in your homes, at work, perhaps in church. Yeah, you might actually meet them out on the streets. We're talking about toxic people. We're talking about toxic people. I actually think there might have been a little bit of a blooming of toxic people post pandemic. I'm hearing many nurses talk about their patients' reactions pre and post pandemic. And it seems as if perhaps the forced isolation, that's my theory anyway, the forced isolation perhaps brought a lot of us back to our more animalistic natures. whatever the reason, there are many people suffering today from people in their lives that we, by the end of the night, will probably agree are not just people exhibiting toxic behaviors, but that they are dealing with toxic people. Tonight, I want to give you 7 signs of what you might consider toxic behavior. And I want to give you strategies as well. For those of you who are feeling confused, burdened, overwhelmed, afraid, disappointed, you might be dealing with people that you thought initially were kind, nice, good people, but it's turned sideways and you can see the real human being now. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I'm saying that because many people, when they try to speak up about horrible people, they get told that they're exaggerating. So I want to give you 7 things to look for and 7 things to do about it. So first of all, we're human beings. So everybody, if we're being honest, has a certain level of toxicity to them. And depending on the circumstances, you might react in a way that is more quote unquote toxic. Everybody does unkind things from time to time. Yeah, but depending on the level and depending on the length of time a person has been demonstrating toxic behaviors, perhaps we can begin to call them toxic people. I think that people operate out of that part of themselves when they have not done the work to heal themselves from whatever pain or trauma or disappointments they might have experienced. As a clinical psychologist, I also understand that there are people who are diagnosable when it comes to character issues and personality issues. Now, that takes a long time to cook, so to speak, in a human being. You don't wake up tomorrow and become a toxic person. Yeah? So, where do you want to start? I want to start by defining to you what it really means to be a toxic person. So, You want to look for a person who regularly, keyword is regularly, displays, exhibits, shows, acts in a way that their behavior hurts other people. And when I say hurt, I'm not just talking about physical hurt. I'm talking about emotional hurt, psychological hurt, economic hurt, spiritual hurt. Yeah. This person regularly does and says things that negatively impact the lives of people around them. And they are usually the ones instigating the nastiness in the relationship. So, can we arrive at a definition, perhaps, of a toxic family? A toxic family or a toxic work environment? One where family members regularly display actions that hurt and negatively affect each other. It happens in work environments as well, and many of you are suffering. As I said earlier, everybody at some point you're going to say something, even if you didn't mean to, that's going to hurt somebody else. Or you're going to do something that is going to hurt somebody, even if you were not meaning to. Perhaps you misjudged what they wanted. They expected a certain thing, and what you give them, it wasn't that they were looking out for, so they might be hurt. Okay, well, most rational human beings, what do? You have a conversation. Yeah, you talk about it. You might apologize. You might say something like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that would hurt you. Or I wish you might have communicated to me earlier. You might say, I'm sorry. And you might promise not to do it again. And you follow through. Toxic people cannot do that. Cannot do that. Cannot respond to that. And I'm going to change my word from cannot to choose not to. They choose not to respond to normal interactions of, repentance, forgiveness. No. These are people who actively enjoy the experience of causing harm, of causing pain to other people, causing discomfort. So where do we meet them? Like I said, clearly we meet them at home. Many of us are living with them at home. Family, relationship partners, husbands, boyfriends, sisters, brothers. When you think about family, though, how easy is it for us to separate ourselves from them? So a lot of you are in pain right now because you have not yet figured out how to deal with that person so you can live in a state of peace. Many children learn how to become themselves toxic adults based on how they are raised and who raises them. Yeah? You meet these people at work. How many of you are suffering now with a boss or a supervisor who thinks that the job is theirs and you belong to them? Or a colleague, or a church member, or a pastor, even a friend that somehow, again, you have not yet figured out what to do, what to say, to change that dynamic. Well, you're suffering. We know about long-term suffering, long-term pain and anxiety and sadness and frustration is not good for your body because the body produces stress hormones continuously. Your body is supposed to produce stress hormones to give you speed. You want to escape. You want to back away. You want to stay on guard. Your adrenaline is high. Your cortisol might be high. But that is supposed to last for a short time in the human body. But if you're living in that situation, or if you're working in that situation and you think, I cannot get another job, I must keep doing this, then you might be breeding illness in your body. How about your mental health? Sadness, anxiety, There's a phrase that psychologists use called walking on eggshells. And I'm sure many of you have heard that phrase. Walking on eggshells is the idea that you're so not sure what people are going to do, that it's almost as if you're walking on tiptoe around them. You're very careful what you say, how you say it, when you say it. Some of you have to wait for a particular time before you even engage with some of these people. You might have to bring them gifts before. You might have to stroke them a lot before. So it is very painful, and the consequences are great. If you have a child who is growing up in a family like that, if you have a spouse who is in a situation like that, someone up for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Because it lasts so long, it can become chronic. And so people have complex PTSD that is very complicated to treat and to help people come to a space of resolution and peace on the inside. So it is dangerous to be around toxic people. It is dangerous to your physical health. It is dangerous to your mental health. I argue it's dangerous to your spiritual health because you're trying to maintain your sense of unconditional love for humanity. And this person right here might be making it very challenging for you. Yeah. Many people's self-worth, their self-esteem, their sense of who they are become impacted when they're living with, working with people who are engaging in toxic behaviors repeatedly. Okay? With children, it can actually even go as far as impacting their attachment style. So if you have a child who's been trapped in a long-term, unsafe environment, they're not sure what they're going to encounter when they go home from school, that can have a really negative impact on a child's ability to connect with another human being, say in a relationship when they become an adult. So some of these people in their relationships, when they become adults, they sabotage the relationship. When it starts getting too close, their anxiety builds. And what happens when we feel anxious? Our stress response kicks in. For some of us, we start fighting. So they start a fight, they start arguing, irritability. Yeah. They run away, they end the relationship. Some people, just freeze and they, a way you might freeze in a relationship is you stop getting closer. Some people will shut down if you're trying to communicate. Yeah. Communication is how we build intimacy. So if a person becomes so anxious because they learned to be so anxious at home, if that is the experience now in the relationship, it can be very detrimental. Okay? So, you ready for the 7? There's so many, but I'm going to offer 7. Okay? These 7 common signs of toxic behavior in a family member or a work colleague or a boss or a pastor, a priest. Look out. Okay? Look out. And I want you to listen all the way to the end so we can talk about what you do about it. Because I think that's where many people are trapped, completely trapped. So, number 1, symptoms of toxic people, right? Or toxic behavior. Number 1, their perception of you does not line up with how you see yourself or how most other people have told you they experience you. What do I mean by that? Y'all, I mean, if you are known to be a kind person, everybody who experiences you for the most part, they see you, they feel you. They're not stupid, right? They're not nuts. They're not out of their minds. They experience you as a nice person. And suddenly you have this one outlier over there calling you the most horrendous names, telling you you're a horrific person. Does that line up with who you know yourself to be? Does that line up with how most other people experience you? Because if one person says something, you might be like, mm-hmm. But if two people say something, you may be like, mm-hmm. If 10 people are saying something, you're going to lean towards the 10, right? But toxic people will go very far to make you believe that their decision about you, which let me tell you is very nasty or negative, that's the reality. You want to pay attention when you're dealing with somebody and this person is trying to convince you that you're the most horrible person on the planet. Meanwhile, you know who you are, and the people around you know who you are, and you've never really heard that from them. So that is one sign you want to look out for. I think that's a very big tell. It's a very big tell. Yeah, because if you're going to believe somebody, you're going to believe the one person who's telling you you're the worst person, you're the most unkind, and then you have 20, and all of the people who've known you for all of your lives, they're telling you this is who you are. I think sometimes when that kind of stuff is repeated, some people actually start doubting themselves. Maybe there's some truth to it, which makes sense as a rational human being and as a sentient, somebody who's thinking, somebody who's wanting to improve. You might check yourself and ask, well, maybe let me see if there's something to what they're saying. But once you realize, hey, this is not who I see myself to be, and this is not what people who know me and have known me forever, this is not how they describe me, watch out. Okay, that's one sign. Number two, they accuse you of things that you know in your heart are not true. They accuse you. It leaves their mouth. Something that you know for sure is not true. When you're dealing with a person who's telling you something like that, beware. Be very afraid. Okay? Because often that person already knows that what they're saying to you is not true. Sometimes there are people with personality disorders whose perception, the way they interpret information, becomes distorted. So that could also be a possibility. That, though, is their perception. It's their possibility. Okay? So you know the facts. So when you have someone accusing you of something that you know is factually untrue, that's sign number two that you might be dealing with a toxic person, a person who has made it a habit to cause pain to other people. Why? Because rational people, when you tell them, no, I didn't do that, or that was not my intention, what do? You talk about it and you resolve it. So that's sign number two, okay? Number three, they're abusive. They're abusive. What does that mean? I know the first word, the first experience that maybe comes to our minds when we think of abuse is physical. Abuse is not always physical, okay? Abuse can be emotional, abuse can be psychological, abuse can be economic, abuse can be spiritual. Spiritual abuse might look something like, there you are, you're the most devoted church member, but the priest or the pastor begins to talk badly about you, perhaps, right, to another member. Do you not see how that might impact your faith, even in your higher power, whomever that is, because you might stop trusting your priest? But this stuff happens. Yeah. Anybody who uses words to make another family member or another co-worker feel less than or feel bad is exhibiting toxicity. Anybody. And there's some people who make it Again, a habit. Hmm? That is emotional violence. That's emotional violence. I think many of us underestimate the level of violence in the kinds of words that certain family members are using towards us and certain co-workers are using towards us and about us. That's emotional violence. So that's abuse. Anytime another human being is interacting with you in that way, look out. Beware. You might be dealing with a toxic person. Okay? Number 4, if you're around a person who is constantly blaming you or criticizing you, constantly blaming, constantly criticizing, that person cannot see your good. Whatever their perceptual experience is, whatever it is you're doing, if they're constantly criticizing you, they cannot see what is good in you. So you might have interactions and this person is always blaming you. You're the bad one. You're the wrong one. Again, what happens in most realistic, healthy relationships? We talk about it. We express our feelings of hurt or discomfort, and we make a new plan about how we will treat each other the next time. But it cannot be that you are the one who's always at fault or you are the most horrific. You're dealing with a toxic person if that's what they keep repeating to you. Okay? Many of these people are famous for playing the victim. So they will assume the posture that they're the ones who are always being hurt by everybody else. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense, does it? Yeah. Number 5, sign of toxicity. There's a level of unpredictability about these people. So you might be a child going home, and again, you're not sure. So you start walking on eggshells, right? You're not sure how mom is going to be tonight or how dad is going to be tonight. Yeah. Or how your friend is going to be today. Say you had a disagreement, like I said, and you all talked about it. You thought it was done with, right? You were over and done with that. You apologized, they apologized, you took your responsibility for whatever, they took theirs. You were like, okay, this is squashed. And then boom, out of the blue, that person might keep stuff going. They're talking to all their friends about the disagreement you all had. You might be dealing with a toxic person. Okay? And if you don't know how to care for yourself, I understand why so many of you are in suffering. Okay? Number 6, they are controlling. And with that sense of wanting to control you, tell you what to do, tell you how to do it, yeah, they're also manipulative. So they're great also at roping in support, you know. They're great at getting other people to come on board with them. In narcissistic psychology language, we call those people flying monkeys. Yeah, who they're great at convincing them. Yeah, you do have a problem. Yeah. So, how do people try to control us? They try to gaslight us. Gaslighting is, you will know this happened. Yeah. So you might say, hey, we talked about this. We resolved this issue. Why are you bringing it up again? Yeah. But they will perhaps make it seem like you all never dealt with this. No, we never dealt with this. Yeah. So they try to change your reality. They also use guilt. And many of us are very sensitive to guilt trips. Yo, if a family member is constantly trying to guilt you, you're going to have to make some choices about how you interact with this person. You're going to have to make some choices, or else you will maintain a certain level of stress because you're always going to be on guard around that person, not trusting them, wondering what they're going to say today, what they're going to do this time. And that's what I mean about those stress hormones that stay like that. And they break our body down. So you might not be seeing anything physical happening on the outside, but you're suffering and your body's paying the price on the inside. So you have to make a decision about what you're going to do about this person, this pastor, this supervisor, this child. Many of us, our kids, are this way. And number 7, like I said, there's so many signs that you could be looking for. Number 7 is the punishment is harsher than it needs to be. There are many parents who are like that, where their pleasure is in you feeling the pain versus they want to train you to become a well-functioning adult. So discipline is a necessary part of raising kids, but when discipline becomes too harsh, that can be a sign of toxicity. Yeah? There are some parents who, if you don't do what they want you to do, they won't talk to you for weeks. They will not talk to you for weeks. They name call their kids. They belittle them. The punishment is unwarranted. It is too harsh. Okay. Well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to respond to this? If I mentioned at least one, you better listen. Okay? You had better listen. Number 1, I say this a lot. You must learn to set boundaries. Okay. I know I have to talk about this more because we talk about this a lot, this idea of setting boundaries, but a lot of us don't know what that means. Let me give you an example. Say you have a sister who's very controlling with you. That is their, that is their nature. That is, and that sometimes it hurts you. Yeah. That is their personality. Or you have a boss who is that way, or a parent, or a child who is that way. That person is trying to use words. I'm going to try to be kind. That person might be trying to use words to make you feel bad. Say you're trying to do something for them and they're calling you names. Why are you wasting so much time? You always do this. Setting a boundary with a person like that you love, that has that personality, might sound something like this, because this is a person you want to maintain a relationship with. It might sound something like, sis, you have every right to yell or to call me names. Why? Because you're a human being. Your tongue is your tongue. But the next time you do this, I am not picking up the phone for a month. That's a boundary. Where, you allow people to do whatever they want to do. You can't stop a person from yelling at you. But if you want to stop that experience of you feeling stressed out, humiliated, overwhelmed, your responsibility is to set a boundary. Now, I promise you, if that person loves you and that person is not toxic beyond repair, watch them adjust their behavior. Watch them make the adjustment. They will make the adjustment. But toxic people who are used to repeatedly engaging in behaviors like that, where they're telling everybody what to do, calling people names, always in a fight. If you're in Dominica, they call that cancan. People who are always in cancan. Yeah? That's a toxic person. So when that person is attempting to bring that kind of behavior to you, the first time, I'm telling you, you appreciate the person's style. I appreciate that's your style. Hey, I know that's your style, but I don't feel good when people talk to me with that tone. What do you think about saying that again in a different way? There are people, though, because that is their personality, and they basically, at this point, because that personality has been cooking in them, it's fair. They're not going to change. They're not going to change. So you have decisions to make about that. And we'll talk about some of those where you have to go even more hardcore. Your boundaries have to become even firmer. Or else what? Or else you say yes to the pain that they will take pleasure in inflicting on you. Okay? Because that is their personality. Okay? Number 2, let me tell you, toxic people enjoy doing what they're doing. They take pleasure in your, essentially in your pain. They take pleasure in your pain. Some of them feel high, feel good when they've told you off. Oh, I gave her a piece of my mind. I told her what was coming to her. Yeah. Again, we are human beings. So every now and then you have to tell somebody off, right? But if you have a person who that is their personality, that's a toxic person. That's a person who has not learned communication skills. That's a person who has not healed their trauma potentially. Yeah. So they cannot even regulate their emotions. Right? Many of these people, like I say, feel good if they know what they're saying is having a negative impact on you. They plan for you to hurt. They want you to hurt. That's part of their I am deserving of talking to them that way. Yeah? They earned it. They better take it. Take it. Yeah? They want you to engage. So what can you do? Something else you can do is to create a firmer boundary. So again, a firmer boundary could be like that sister, I am not speaking to you for a month, 2 months. I won't pick up the phone because I don't want to take the chance that this will be your tone on the phone. And you will have every right to do it because you have a responsibility to take care of your physical and your mental and your spiritual health. Number 3, you've got to give yourself permission. The same way the toxic person gives themselves permission to talk in a nasty way to you. Yes, it's the same way, Christian woman, kind woman, that you must give yourself permission to let them know how you're feeling and what you're going to do about it to take care of yourself. So, I understand that you like speaking this way, but I don't feel comfortable when anybody, not just you, when anybody speaks to me using a certain set of words or in a certain tone. Okay? It's not about you. I just don't deal with people who deal with me in that way. I don't feel good about it. And I am focused on caring for myself. It's not about you. You have every right to yell at me and scream at me. But I feel sad when you make these negative comments. I feel confused when you speak in that way. And I don't enjoy that feeling. Therefore, I will be doing X, Y, Z. Except if you decide to make an adjustment. Okay? Number 4, what else can you do? No matter how a conversation goes with a toxic person that is in your life that you might think, I cannot change that relationship, a child, a parent, a spouse. You can only control your behavior. You cannot make anybody do anything or feel anything. You're in control of your own behaviors. Therefore, you have to learn yourself. You have to learn what makes you feel good and what does not make you feel good. You've got to start there because then you can empower yourself to begin to start maybe using words to protect yourself with that person. And for some of you, that might mean completely, which is number 5, separating yourself from that person. Separating yourself from that person. Number 6 is a technique called gray rocking. You know what's a gray rock? A gray rock is just, it's just kind of blah. It's just kind of there. It's not a vibrant red rock, right? Or a blue rock or a yellow pow rock. Gray is kind of dull. So what you do is you pretend as if that person is not there. Pretend as if they're not there. Now, some of us, again, we're very conscientious people. We're very kind by nature. And the thought of gray rocking somebody where you pretend as if they're not existing in the world can be very painful for some of us. But I want you to think of it from a higher perspective, as in, it's a way to be neutral towards somebody who might otherwise be eliciting very powerful emotions in you. So gray rocking is a way to neutralize the fire that they're coming at you with and that you might be responding and reacting with. Yeah, you neutralize it with your go higher, with unconditional love. I love them so much, I'm not going to allow them to look crazy. And I love myself so much that I'm not going to allow myself to experience that kind of pain. Because people who hurt us, they are experiencing moral injury. I talk about that sometimes. People who hurt other people, on some level, they're also hurting themselves. So you could make the case that I'm going to allow them, to just be themselves in their part of the universe, and I will be myself in my part of the universe. And you diminish the number of times you all interact. And that, for people who have that kind of personality, might be your best bet. Might be your best bet. I want to add number 7, which is to seek professional help. If you have a child who's demonstrating that kind of way that you already see that is toxic, that is a sign, a signal to you that your child needs help. It is not going to go away by magic. Yeah, it's not going to go away by magic. If you're in a relationship and that's the dynamic, you need couples counseling. You need therapy if you intend to maintain the relationship in a healthy way. Because what ends up happening is what? Some people just decide they go into the dead zone, right? And you sleep over there, I sleep over there. Well, you could go to a third party that is trained and who might be able to help you all understand why this person is acting out of their trauma like this, or what words, what skills can they teach your person to learn how to be with you in a more efficient, loving, healthy way. So there's always, every problem has a solution. But again, you only have power over yourself. So in many instances, we really just have to, if it is that bad, you have to let people be themselves. Let them go. Yeah, you just have to let them go. Because everybody has a right to be who they want to be and do what they want to do. As parents, sometimes you want to change your child. You want a child to be a different human being. Unfortunately, by the time they reach a certain age, you realize they're cooked. That's it. Well, if that human being, you might have, your womb might have been the vessel through which they came to the planet, but if that child is causing you so much hurt, and that child is now an adult, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Many parents have had to do this with kids who sometimes the parents themselves contributed to the children having those kinds of personalities. Some people stay in marriages where you have a very abusive partner who's very abusive to the children, and that's how you cook that kind of stuff. I keep using the word cook, but that's how those kinds of personalities develop. And once a personality develops, I'm telling you, it's developed. It is what it is. So that's the difference between a person who is exhibiting toxic behaviors, who we're all human beings. You get so annoyed, so frustrated. Maybe sometimes you might say things you didn't mean to say, but that's not your typical pattern. Versus a person who, like we say in Dominica, a person who aime cancan. That's a person, that's who they are. That's not going to change. So you, as the individual human being, feeling the brunt of that, you have no power over them. So in a loving way, you gray rock that person. This person is there, but they don't exist. That's their business. They get to live their life how they want. But you live your life how you want, in peace, with understanding. You offer them love from a spiritual perspective or whatever perspective, or not, because you also have a right to do whatever you want. But if you make the decision to continue exposing yourself to that set of toxins, because it is toxic, then you are also saying yes to the high stress levels, to the sadness, to the walking around on eggshells, to the not being sure. What should I do? I was trying to be nice. They don't understand. You have a choice to make. And I hope one of those 7 options, or all of those 7 options, appeals to you, and that you're willing to take a risk to do something different so that you can experience something different, because a lot of you are suffering and there's no need for it, because you are a complete adult with complete rights to your body, your mind, your spirit, and you get to decide. You get to decide who you have in your space. Let me tell you, I don't care if it's your mother. If listen, I'm going to read you all something somebody wrote about their mother. A young lady wrote this. She says about her mother, I don't have a positive memory of her. Since I was young, she was abusive. When my sister came along, I was 6 years old. I pretty much ended up raising my sister. I can remember learning how to make a bottle for her and changing her diaper. My mom was drunk all the time. If I close my eyes, I can smell the disgusting combination of her breath mixed with whiskey and cigarettes. She was just not there. She spent most of her time on the phone, looking out the window, chewing on ice cubes, and making me clean the house and take care of my little sister. I don't really have too many sober memories of her. She had an addiction to Sudafed pills in addition to being a raging alcoholic. Listen, y'all, the stories are endless of people who are very close to you, who you think have a moral responsibility to take care of you, to protect you, to not say bad things about you. But if that person is a toxic person, again, like I say, many of these people have a personality disorder. Okay? It's a character thing. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. That's who they are. You, as the right thinking adult, you are the one who has the power. And if you don't think you have the power, remind yourself and empower yourself. Go find help to help, have a therapist to help you strengthen yourself, clear your thoughts. Talk about strategies and ways to manage. If not, you will just stay in a place of suffering. I'm going to offer this bonus. The bonus is, if there's nothing you can do about it, practice acceptance. It is what it is. It is what it is. I have no power to change another person. Other people, regardless of what it is they're doing, they have every right to do whatever they want to do. But I must create consequences, and boundaries to keep myself safe, emotionally, physically, spiritually, every other early. Okay? So you can accept that the situation is what it is and make choices to take care of yourself. Why? You're worthy of peace. You're worthy of creating the life you want. You're worthy of dealing with people who are supportive, encouraging, positive, kind. Why would you put up with somebody who's being unkind to you? What is that about? What part of yourself is unhealed that you will tolerate it? Okay, you give everybody a rope and then you give them opportunities. Okay, I'm giving them 3 times to do this, 10 times to do this, whatever. But at a certain point, you have to make the choice. You have to make the choice. The other person, I'm trying to explain to you that anybody who is an adult who is acting in this way, they're not going to change. They might tell you they're born again. Yeah, I think that happens every once in a while. Once in a blue moon, right? Like yesterday night. Once in a blue moon, you have people who make this kind of just revolutionary change and they become, they choose to do and say different things, right, from the old person. But how often does that happen? How often does that happen? So it is not them who has to change. I am telling you, they're not going to change if I'm taking a bet. They're not going to change. So who's got to change so that your pain stops? You change. You change. You have a child who perpetually hurts you. You change how you're dealing with that child. Set firmer boundaries. These are the same people who they will abuse you verbally and they will come ask you for money when they're in a bind. Why would you say yes? Say you might have done this one time, twice, right? And you realize the pattern. Why would you do it again? Why would you do it again and suffer? Yeah? So that's my offering for the evening. Lady in Red, how are you doing today? Facebook user is appreciating my red. Thank you very much. I am doing well. I'm doing well today. Thank you. Jackie says they act like they do not know. Oh, they know so good and well. Many of them are sadistic in nature because what does that mean? That means they have learned to take pleasure in other people's pain, in their embarrassment. If they think they scored a hit on you, they'll be cackling to themselves. These people enjoy it. But meanwhile, there you are, the kind one. Oh, I'm so nice. Like I say, a good Christian woman. I will love my neighbor as myself. Yes, you love your neighbor as yourself enough to gray rock your neighbor, enough to love your neighbor from a distance. Okay? So that your neighbor does not have that free passage to hurt you. Somebody says, true, true, true. Verna, good evening, Verna. How are you? I hope you're having a lovely night. Y'all, stop accepting because you got to accept it. Stop accepting mess. Stop it. Okay? Jackie says the actions show who they are when they cannot tell you how they feel about you. Well, there are some of them who actually might tell you they love you. And their actions cause you pain. Who's got to make the decision about what to do about that? It's you. It's you. And as Jackie says, you walk away. For those of you who are in scary, life-threatening situations, please make a plan, get support around you, get professional help. Get professional help. Any human being who hurts another human being verbally, physically, emotionally, in a repeated way is more than likely not going to change their character. Okay? They didn't do it yesterday just because they were having a bad day. At this age, if you're dealing with an adult, by that age, people know how to act socially. They ought to. And those people who didn't learn from a good model, some people learn a very toxic model. And I'm sorry. You might think you're going to change them by bringing them to church on Sundays. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. It might happen, like I say, once in a blue moon. But if you're going to make the choice, to keep engaging with people who are doing that to you, be okay with the stress level, with the emotional pain, the anxiety, the sadness. the self-doubt, the self-loathing for some of you, low self-worth, feeling bad about yourself, feeling weak, powerless. Oof. Like, why would you choose to live from that part of yourself? I say choose because you have a choice to be happy. It might mean gray rocking them and blocking them on every platform. Okay? This is very powerful, this gray rocking. It's very powerful. Okay? And you're not trying to do it as in you're trying to tease them. Well, I'm nothing. No, you're taking care of yourself. Somebody said, I just cut loose and go. I just cut loose and go on my merry way. My heart cannot take the burden. No, nor does your heart deserve that burden. We create our life. What you're seeing around you, you are actively creating it by your choices. And many of us, when we're relating to people, we go into a state of just fantasy and what we wish for versus what we are actually seeing. Go with what you're seeing and hearing versus what you wish for. Everybody has wishes, Yeah. What is it? If wishes were horses, beggars would ride, It hurts to lose a friend, but letting go is giving me power to walk away, Jackie says. Of course, you hurt to lose a friend, but you've got to decide, am I going to lose my friend or am I going to lose myself? Because when we are done with these kinds of interactions, many of us, we are left questioning ourselves. Yeah? Like I said, number one, you have a person who's trying to tell you, no, you're the worst person in the world when you know yourself. And the people who know and love you know you. And you've not gotten that feedback from anybody else in your environment, in your life. And I was about to say joker, but some individual is telling you, you're weak, you're this, you're that. Cut it off. Cut it off if that person is not able to, after a conversation, stop this. Yeah. Or else just agree that you're saying yes to that kind of treatment. I promise you, these people enjoy watching other people suffer. I want you to know that you would not have been the first person to tell them that they're being mean. They're used to it. They've made a calculation that they're going to be that way anyway. Okay? They've calculated this. By the time we become adults, you think we haven't encountered people who've told us, why are you talking to me in this way? Why are you being so critical to me? Of course. But people choose how they will be because they've decided it works for them. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, many children go through that. Jackie, you say no way acceptance. Acceptance in the sense that you accept that this is the reality, that this person is probably not going to change or be somebody different or be who I wish they would be. So you accept that reality as is, that person, they say things that hurt my feelings. I accept that. And so now I choose what I will do with that information. And if you're a wise adult, if you're an adult who appreciates yourself, you will choose something that eliminates that kind of experience for you. It eliminates it. Okay? There are people like that, especially in relationships, toxicity, toxic guys. They're toxic men and women, that mother. Yeah, somebody says that's a mama what? A mama what for my English and American listeners is like a rat, a mother that's like a rat who might eat her young, Yeah, most of us, our mothers were saints, but there are some mothers who, yeah, they didn't get that. They're not able to parent well. They have their mental health issues. They have personality disorders. Yes. Thank you. Somebody says their phone was dying. They will watch on replay. Lying alone, they're using people. Yeah, they don't love anymore. No, because love doesn't do that. That is completely opposite to what love is. So if you say I love so and so, but I'm criticizing them, I'm looking for, you know, I'm saying things to hurt them, I'm not negotiating a new way to be with them. I'm not even offering them an opportunity to say I'm sorry. There are some people who, I'm telling you, when they've decided to come after you, they will not stop. Not because they're right, but because that's who they are. That's their personality. So what are you going to do with that? You're going to try to negotiate with that after you've seen what that is? No, make a choice for your best interest. Or else take what you get, essentially. Jackie says, very interesting topic. I'm going through this right now, but I'm using the gray rocking and limiting my contact. That is one of the most efficient ways. Again, why? Because these people do not change. They are who they are. Okay? They are who they are. And you have to accept. The acceptance comes in seeing they are who they are. I know a lot of us have been trained to think, let me just have hope for them. That one of those days they must change. And many of you get hurt doing that. No, the wise thing to do as an adult is to see who they are and to make a decision to keep them as an acquaintance, but not in a role that is so close to your emotions. Or else you're saying yes to your demise. And it's like, well, if I love myself, why would I do that? If I love myself, why would I engage with a father who's calling me names? I'm going to use this example of Meghan Markle. Why would I engage with a sister who is, for as many years as I've been married, who is constantly saying nasty things about me? Why would you engage with that human being? They just happen to share your DNA. That's it. Because they're not acting, their actions are causing you relentless discomfort. And they are taking pleasure in it. They want to do it. If they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't be doing it. So what do you do as an adult, as a right-thinking adult? What do you do with a sister like that? What do? You gray rock her. You cease contact because that sister, biologically, is acting like an enemy. Why would you expose yourself to the stress of wondering, is she going to be nice to me today? Did she really forgive me? Yeah. Because if she can say those things, she must believe those things and she must want to say those things. So why would you think that having a conversation with that person is going to work? I'm telling you, it's not going to work if I'm placing a bet. So your choices are, like Jackie says, as painful as it is, I'm losing somebody I grew up having affection and love for. But this person is saying those kinds of things about me in the public sphere. They're meaning to hurt me. So that person is not demonstrating love towards me. Why would I deal with a sister like that? I would be the crazy one. No. I would be the crazy one. So yeah. So that's my offering to you all tonight. Okay? You are worthy of relating and being with people who love you back. You are worthy of it. We are all worthy of it. Even they are, yeah? But a lot of them think they are more worthy than you. That's why it's okay for them to tell you these things and to do these things to you. Okay? But will you say yes to it as well? I hope you make a choice that is in your highest good and in your best interest. Okay? Block them. Peace. I hope you all have a lovely Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend. I'm going to do the same. Have a lovely Thursday night. Okay, I'll see you all next week. If all goes well. Peace.